Hey there, welcome to Business Breakthroughs. I'm your host, Neal DiPentino. So glad you could be with us today. I'm real excited about our guest today. Just an incredible person I think you're going to love. Our guest today is an executive coach with over 20 years of leadership experience in both the public and private sectors. Her journey began as a chef and a manager in hospitality, and that career led into a career in the defense industry. And we're going to find out about how that all happened and what that's all about here shortly. From Washington, D.C., our nation's capital, welcome Amy Parker. Amy, welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks, Neal. It's really great to be here.
Well, thank you very much. I've always wanted to say from our nation's capital. It just, it's so cool. I just love it. I love to be able to do that. So, you're having some weather up there right now, I would imagine, huh? Just I've been watching the news a little bit and, I know it kind of changes a little. I used to work for a company out of Falls Church, Virginia, so it wasn't too far away from you, and a wonderful place if you stay off the Beltway. So,
True.
Absolutely. So, looking over your profile, one of the things that kind of caught my eye, and this is not really business related, but I love the fact that you have a wonderful background. But something that really caught my eye is that you enjoy life by dancing to groovy beats. So,
yes.
I'm sorry I had to call you out on that one. You're going to have to explain that a little bit and tell us a little bit about Amy Parker, if you would.
Oh, yeah, sure. Thank you again. It's, so the groovy beats part, working for the Department of Veterans Affairs, after being bitten by both the coaching and learning and development bug, I wanted a sign off for my emails around always learning. And your listeners and you may be familiar with the military services, different services, all have a semper saying, a Latin saying. The most recognizable would be for the Marines, the Semper Fi, Semper Fidelis,
sure.
For always faithful. And I thought, what could it be? And so just putting it into the Google machine, what's Latin for I'm always learning? And when Semper Disco came back, I thought this is too good to be true because, leadership happens in the body, right? Learning is not just connected to your head. It has to really be something we kind of take in on a cellular level for it to stick. And keeping with a value that I also have around fun, I thought this is too good to be true. And the root is, now I did not take Latin. That was my mom, who helped me with learning some Latin, but a little bit of Italian. So I think it's the dicere is maybe how you would say it. The root relates to discernment, which I thought, my goodness, because that's a big part of how we learn as well, is discerning things. So it was just too good to be true. And I just
that's incredible.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it was like God said you had to know it's or buts about it. So what kind of, like the groovy, do you really dance to groovy beats? Is there like a particular groovy beat you like to dance to?
Well, particularly disco, because I would double dog dare anyone if we turned on some disco to sit still right now. It's just, it's not meant to be, right?
Well, I'm going to look for Disco Inferno right now. Okay. I love it. Fantastic.
I have been known to start or end meetings with some well-chosen disco, because the other thing that I really think is there are a lot of lessons in song, in music across the eras, and things that could really speak to you in a moment that can be very helpful. So, yeah.
Absolutely. Very cool. Very cool. Now, you have an interesting journey. I was looking at your background, and you are highly educated. MBA from the Citadel, BA from Johnson and Wales, University of North Carolina, and then you took some time, maybe do a little senior executive training, which, oh my gosh, that's incredible. But your journey began as a chef and manager in hospitality, which then in turn, you migrated somehow into the defense industry. How did that all come about?
Well, so cooking was always a passion. There's even a picture of me, I think at 3, standing up on a chair, stirring some chocolate pudding. So I can thank my mom and my grandfather for really pulling me into wanting and loving cooking. And I went to Johnson & Wales in Charleston, South Carolina, when the university was there, and knew that I wanted to continue my education journey. I wasn't done with a BA. I wanted to keep going, or a BS. And so the University of Charleston is the Citadel and the colleges. So the Citadel has the business school. So, and that has a strong military affiliation. And I think that when I knew I wanted to transition from hospitality, I wanted to see if I had some business chops. Being in the Washington area, because that's where I grew up. That's also where, there's a little bit of a military presence.
A little bit, yeah.
A little bit. So it was an interesting, it was like, I feel like I could try this. I think that might maybe define how I've made some seemingly hard left turns in my career that just, they were like, yeah, let me try this. Let me see how I like it. So strange, but a lot of fun as well. A lot of opportunity to learn.
Well, fantastic. So you worked for, I'm looking at all this. You worked for the Navy, the Pentagon, the Department of Veteran Affairs, and now you are an executive coach, a senior executive coach, and you're working with people to help them with their leadership skills. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yes, exactly. So as I think, huge benefit to the senior executives at the Department of Veterans Affairs, they provide executive coaches to new executives. And so it was through my coach, my first ever coach. I mean, when I didn't even know what was this coaching thing we were even talking about. And she said, I'm going to help you. And I was like, because I'm new at this and I really need a lot of help.
Yeah, gotcha.
So it was through working with her and just the absolute energy and then possibility and investment in really being thoughtful about leadership that bit me kind of as a bug and pulled me into coaching and learning and development as well. Really finding my passion and purpose both through that experience and then taking coaching training around my life purpose, to spark a passion in others around learning. And that's been consistent even before I knew what I was doing with it. For instance, I would volunteer to, teach cooking classes to middle schoolers. Most people go, middle schoolers, but I love them. They were fantastic. They're just old enough to be sarcastic and still young enough to be darling. In my opinion. So I really loved that. So it's been my journey so far.
I love it. Fantastic. So in your business now, in your executive coaching business, who's a typical client for you? Who are the clients that you are working with now? Types of clients. You don't have to name names if you don't want to, but and who would be an ideal client for you moving forward?
So I've been very fortunate to work with mid to senior level government executives in both while I was as an internal coach before I retired from the government. So in HR, human resources, and in IT, in financial management, as well as healthcare administration. So that's been very rewarding. And then more recently now, kind of outside of the government, private sector executives, mid to senior level executives too, those that are really, searching for, what should their next steps be? How to maybe consider all of the factors that should go into a next step and not making the wrong next step. In other words, sometimes maybe the pressure to go up is not in keeping with all of their values where they currently are. So I love to explore that. A lot of work with clients around the fulfillment that they would like to have, a perspective, and in other words, taking on different perspectives for what they're experiencing and how they want to be in relationship with their own teams, in their own life, and also accountability, because that's really the beauty. That's what I took a lot of from my coach. I was very fortunate that she was very good at holding me accountable, especially when I didn't want to be, right? So I think
right,
that's
sure.
also the real benefit of coaching is you have this accountability partner. So that's what I love.
Well, and I think a lot of leaders, unfortunately don't have that. And that's where a coach comes in, the accountability part of it. Plus, I mean, it's always nice to be able to have somebody that you can actually run things by, maybe even, complain a little bit every once in a while.
Sure.
Because you can't complain down, you can only complain up. And if you're like at the top level, then what do you do? Right. And even people who are in middle management, sometimes the people who are up don't want to hear it. So it's nice to have someone like you who come in and kind of fill that void and help them to, get over or get past some of the issues that they might be working on. So in private sector now with your business, I mean, in terms of channels and types of businesses, are you working with brick and mortar? Are you working B2B? What are the clients? What kind of clients are you working with there?
So it's a range. It really is. And that's what I love. And we talked in the beginning a little bit about how kind of maybe left turn some of my career moves were. I consider myself a generalist, and I love the technical folks. So it's really fun for me to connect with. I would say I have had a lot of experience with established corporations, big ones like Boeing. Talk about huge industry. Very complex and, important in their connection to their safety, their reputation, how to maintain that and further it. Other companies like in entertainment, Warner Brothers, and then even just have loved some of the small, tech startup folks. There's so much energy, so much possibility that connecting that with coaching is a lot of fun as well.
So you have a big, wide range of clients that you're really working with. Big ones, kind of maybe a little bit smaller clients with the new startups and stuff like that. Warner Brothers, that's interesting. I actually applied for a job there one time, didn't get it. It's okay. Probably they made the right move with somebody else, but that's fine.
Sure. and look where you ended up, Neal.
Yeah, I know, but that's
Great.
Hey, yeah. No, I'm fine with it. It's okay. I mean, we'll talk offline about that interview. It was like crazy. I probably could have used you back then. I know I could have used you back then. Believe me. So the leadership type of programs that you're working with and the things that you're teaching people and helping them coach with, can you give us maybe an example of what your process would be with an executive?
Absolutely. Always love to start with, and this is related to the amazing coaching training I had, to start with, who are you? And again, to a song, shout out to The Who. Anybody want to put that on and just dance around to that and consider who are you? Who are you? And what
I feel in the groove.
Yes. See, and I'm not going to sing because I like to say I sing like an alley cat, but it was this really great song for that. So connecting to who that individual is, and most importantly, values, because one of my most favorite learnings was around how, if I felt really inspired, sparked, excited about something, it was in line with my values. And when it felt a little dissonant, when there was a little bit of that grating, it was likely because something was out of step with my values. So, I have a value around efficiency. And if I see a bunch of waste going on around me, it's going to kind of like, get to me. And recognizing that and how to be productive from that is what I really love working with my clients around. Again, perspective. And I think, humans, we make things to be sometimes what they are, instead of seeing them as they really are, right? We're perceiving things instead of maybe really able to process them, especially today in every industry, I think. Maybe not farming. Maybe farming is the one industry, if you're a farmer, you really can take it slow. You can be methodical, but you don't have to be connected to your phone 24/7, although my son-in-law, I see him he's a farmer, and I see him with a phone in his hand almost all the time. So I imagine, maybe even it's gotten to farming, right? We're moving quickly. We have a lot coming at us, and being purposeful and being versus just doing, getting into the doing before we determine how we want to be, I think is also something I really love to work with my clients about.
And I would imagine, working with a Boeing or a Warner Brothers, I mean, you're dealing with top level executives. Things are probably moving at like even a faster pace because they're getting it from all angles. They've got, their employees that they have to be concerned with, anybody upline that they have to be concerned, board of directors or investors, all that kind of stuff. So there's a lot going on. They have to be on top of it. And so it can become a little bit overwhelming. So how do you help them to kind of cut through that clutter?
So I think that the beauty also of coaching, and what I love, I started crystallizing a little bit more of a concept around how learning and development and coaching as a component of that offers you not just an opportunity to grow, but an opportunity to rest and reflect. And so working with clients around, I see these things in front of me, and it seems to be this way. Okay, what are the other ways? I really love coaching around, the possibility and the open road we can take if we will look for it, right? What if, what's possible? A real intentionality about an approach to every single day and every interaction and then action. And then really important around, especially coaching with government executives, but it is the same in business too, as I've learned more with my business clients. This concept of accountability, accountability for me, like you're going to hold me accountable, Neal, and we're good buds, and that feels okay. But then somebody that I don't know, that I feel like I might be a little threatened from, that's going to try to talk to me about accountability, that's not going to be fun at all. I'm not up for that. Right. Instead, talking about accountability with staying away from the blame or judgment, but staying on what are we committed to doing and what are we going to get done. And sometimes we don't know if we'll actually be able to reach that goal. We may have to adjust on the way. I love to talk to my coaching clients because I had this same feeling when someone said, okay, are you going to do a strategic plan about that? And I was like, a strategic plan? Oh my gosh, nothing sounds less fun than perhaps having a root canal. But then let's talk about perspective. Let's take the perspective that a strategic plan can be like planning a vacation. You're going to go to Paris. You're going to plan your flight. You're going to plan your restaurants, very important restaurants in Paris. You're going to pick the other big things that you're going to do. Now you're going to go to the airport and your flight is delayed. You don't just say, oh, vacation's off. I'm not going to do this. Same thing with strategic planning. And adjusting and staying agile to that is perhaps some of the most important work a leader can do.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think sometimes, and maybe you'll agree, maybe you won't, but I feel like sometimes we overcomplicate everything. Even on our own business, we've got to have an app for this and something for that, and things that I was writing down some notes from a couple of the podcasts I did where we had maybe a few mistakes and errors, and I wanted to provide that to our team, and I say, hey, these are some things you might want to look for when you're going back and doing some editing, and it was like, well, you got to use this app and that app, and I'm like, no. I'm like, I don't have time to learn about all this stuff. I mean, I'm like 900 years old. I just want to actually tell you what's going on and get it fixed, So, sure. So I see that creating a plan, I think, is super important. The other part of it, though, what you said, and I really agree with, is that you have to be agile enough to be able to make and flexible enough to make it, because change happens no matter what you're doing. Like the example you gave at the airport and everything, even with business. I mean, from one day to the next, you just never know what's going to happen.
Sure. So true.
Yeah, having that plan keeps you on a straight line, but like we have employees. So you have an employee who doesn't show up for a few days. Somebody's got to pick up that pace or else you fall behind. So are those kind of things that I mean, obviously that's very simplistic, but are those some of the things that you talk about?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's beautiful too, because so is the idea for a business, a strategic plan being like a vacation, right? That's super simplifying it, but it gets you into the kind of, I think, positive headspace, as well as, just as you said, not overcomplicating it, but doing the hard work where you really are doing the thoughtful planning approach and thinking about, the flight could be delayed, but I'll pack some snacks and I'll, grab some water and take a walk and it will be all right. It's so challenging with, what is expected of our modern leader is beyond, I think, what we could have ever imagined, right? For the world that they navigate. And that's why I do just really love to be in partnership with them through coaching.
That's awesome. So can you maybe give us an example of maybe a situation that you've been working on in the past or something you're working on right now where you've taken your process and you've actually put it into action to see some kind of really good result?
Yeah, absolutely. And I love that you said this. So, coaches don't just have these kind of, or most coaches I know, you just have these kind of rambling conversations where we talk about, it's different than therapy for sure, because we're identifying a gap and getting into action and using tools. So, lots of platitudes around what it means to be a good leader. And sometimes you may be at the point where you're like, okay, do I need a hammer for this or a spatula? I'm not sure, but I know that I need a tool. I can't do something. Yeah. The difference of I'm going to hang a picture, I'm going to flot a fly or, swat a fly. I just totally flipped those words.
Whoops, that's okay.
That's okay. So I have a great interaction with a client who was struggling with a disrespectful employee. A young, vibrant, new leader in the role. She wasn't a total green leader, but she was new to managing this team and new to dealing with a kind of open confrontation. So we talked about we started with her values, where I love to start, and a coaching mindset approach to establishing values and norms with her team as well, connecting them to her values and also diving in, coaching her team to understand their values. What gets them out of bed in the morning? I mean, we go to work for so many different reasons. It's not just to make money and keep a roof over our head. It's even if it is, sometimes it's still an extension of our passion because we're doing that maybe for our families or our other loved ones. So we explored, really how she wanted to be in relationship with this individual. First and foremost, start with how she wanted to be. And then also how she really wanted it to be for her whole team, because an individual that is maybe disgruntled or disrespectful, there are things underneath that. There are underlying beliefs, there are underlying concerns that need to be honored as well. And also establishing that as a leader, no matter what, or in a relationship of any kind, we're not going to countenance disrespect, openly questioning authority or dismissing it even. So she really learned she needed to stand for that while also not seeming like she was going to steamroll the team, right? That was important to her. And that made it very easy to work through the situation, quite frankly. So she did end up needing to put the employee on a performance improvement plan. And she worked really thoughtfully using some coaching tools, like the GROW model is one of the ones that coaches, I think, usually reach for off the shelf. It's a standard, easy process to work through. It's an acronym for goals, reality, opportunities, options, and the will. What will we be doing? What will I do? So, and she was very open to this too, which is the other great thing, establishing a coaching relationship with an individual where, you have that permission. You can be fiercely courageous with them when they need to hear something that's difficult, and they're very open to taking, they're learning from our time together and doing things. So the employee recognized over the next few months with this transition on the performance plan and all the work that this leader was doing around building this team, strengthening the team. The team had already existed, but new people were coming in. She was adding to it, and they were receiving new mission, new goals. So the employee eventually recognized, hey, I don't belong here, because she had, this is shorthand, she had made it curmudgeon proof. And I think the individual really did kind of want to stick in curmudgeon land. And so this wasn't curmudgeon land anymore. It was evident that it was probably time to move on. And the best part was for my client, coming out on the other side with a pride in all of the action she had taken, that she had, a new learning around how to, we can normalize our differences. You can really love, chocolate ice cream, and I really love strawberry, and we have a difference there, but we don't have to go to conflict over it, right? We can work through that. And then also that, she had through this process also successfully established the ethos of her team. So it was beyond, it was something that gets you out of your chair and dancing, for joy to see that kind of thing happen for someone.
Yeah. And sometimes the solution is moving on, but that wouldn't have been identified unless you went through that process that you just talked about. I love that. That's awesome. Fantastic. So, hey, we're coming to the end of our, unfortunately, because this has been very interesting. You having fun? Good. I'm glad you're having fun. Me too. Any final thoughts you want to leave our audience with?
Everybody needs a coach. Now, everybody doesn't need a coach all the time, and it may not be your time, but I can promise you that a coach or being in a coach-like relationship with someone can really help everyone. I believe that strongly.
I couldn't agree more. Fantastic. And Amy, if anybody in our audience wants to learn more about Amy Parker or find out how you can maybe enlist your services, how would they go about doing that?
So right now, while my website is still under construction a little bit, I would love if they would reach out to me on LinkedIn. I am Coach Amy, Amy, L as in LinkedIn, Parker. So Coach Amy L. Parker on LinkedIn. And I would be happy to offer a free 30-minute Is Coaching Right for You session for folks that want to reach out to me.
Outstanding. I think I'll be calling you here real soon. So okay. I love it. Fantastic interview. I really appreciate your time. Hey, folks, that's all we have for today. So thrilled you could be with us. Business Breakthroughs is sponsored by Titan Media Works. Check us out at titanmediaworks.com. That's works spelled WORX. And also check out all of our other great hosts on the Small Business Delivered Network at smallbusinessdelivered.com. Until next time, have a great day. Look forward to seeing you again. Bye-bye.